Gundam SEED Destiny came out about 20 years ago, so it's a pretty safe bet you don't remember everything. And especially with the release of Gundam SEED Freedom, you might want to freshen up a bit, but you might not have 20 hours to do it. So let's see if we can't condense it down to the length of about one episode. And let me know if you want to see the same thing for Stargazer and SEED Freedom when it eventually comes out. If we can hit 1,000 likes, then I'll do both of them. During the events of Gundam SEED, specifically the Battle of Orb, Shinn Asuka and his family attempt to evacuate in the midst of an attack by the Earth Alliance. His sister drops her phone and refuses to leave without it, so Shinn jumps down to go get it, which results in him narrowly evading a stray shot from the ongoing battle. When he gets back up, he discovers that his sister is missing more than just her cell phone. About 2 years have passed since the end of the war between naturals and genetically enhanced coordinators. Shinn and other residents from the nation of Orb have taken up residence in the plant colonies in space, and some have even specifically joined up with their military forces, known as ZAFT, which results in some technological secrets from Orb inevitably being shared and used to assist in the development of ZAFT's very own Gundam-type mobile suits. Cagalli Atha, the newly appointed leader of the neutral nation of Orb, and her bodyguard Alex Dino, who is definitely not Athrun Zala, visit Armory 1 to confront the newly appointed Chairman Durandal about this key issue and how it may stir up conflict in otherwise peaceful times. Suddenly, just as Cagalli warned, a group of enhanced individuals from the Earth Alliance, known as Extendeds, arrive to steal 3 of their new Gundams and start wreaking havoc. Athrun pulls Cagalli into a mobile suit to fight off the 3 machines and desperately try to escape. And Shinn Asuka, now the pilot of ZAFT's new Impulse Gundam, arrives to give him some much-needed backup. But after Cagalli gets injured, remember to wear your seatbelts, kids, Athrun takes her to the new flagship, the Minerva. The thieves blow a hole in the colony, but Shinn and his friend Rei don't back down. Their pursuit is cut short when Phantom Pain leader Commander Neo Roanoke stops them dead in their tracks. But Rei quickly realizes that something is off about this guy. The Minerva's captain, Talia Gladys, after evacuating the chairman, elects to join the fight, desperate to get to the bottom of this and retrieve their stolen machines. Shinn, Rei, and their crackshot companion, Luna Maria, face off against the new machines while Chairman Durandal confronts Athrun. He's figured out that he's not really Alex Dino, but he's actually Athrun Zala, son of the genocidal Chairman Zala from the war 2 years prior. And you've probably figured out that you're having a good time watching, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on new videos like this. After Phantom Pain escapes, the Minerva receives word that Junius 7, the site of the Bloody Valentine tragedy, has suddenly drifted out of orbit and is slowly descending towards Earth, which would result in previously unforeseen death and destruction upon impact. ZAFT starts doing everything it can in order to prevent a disaster. Cagalli and Athrun overhear the crew mentioning how it might be easier for them if the colony collided with Earth. So she barges in and says, "Genuinely, what the hell is wrong with you guys?" Shinn jumps in saying they were just joking around, before launching into a tirade about the foolish idealism of Orb and how it and Cagalli's father got his family killed. Which is fair to a degree, but Shinn is really just looking for any opportunity to scream at Cagalli, and trust me, he takes every single one. The Minerva arrives to assist Commander Isaac Jewell in breaking apart Junius 7, but they're suddenly ambushed by a group of terrorists who intentionally set the colony into motion in the first place. They're Chairman Zala loyalists who believe the only future for coordinators is one where every last natural on Earth is dead. To make things even more complicated, Phantom Pain arrives, not understanding that ZAFT is trying to prevent the colony drop, turning it into a chaotic 3-way conflict. Understanding that the fate of humanity hangs in the balance, Athrun Zala fights alongside ZAFT, reuniting with his old squad mates, Isaac and Diarca. And the 3 of them rip clean through everyone, just like old times. but they aren't fast enough as a massive chunk of the colony begins to enter the atmosphere. Durandal evacuates as the Minerva makes a daring play, descending into the atmosphere itself to fire a Tannhäuser blast at the colony from underneath. Despite their efforts, the larger remains don't burn up in the atmosphere and fall directly to the surface of the Earth. Entire cities are obliterated, and an untold number of lives are lost. Chairman Durandal pushes to make every effort to assist Earth in recovering from the tragedy, and the Minerva decides to bring Cagalli and Athrun back to Orb so they can be with their people. Upon their arrival, a creepy little weirdo named Yuna, with his eyes set on political marriage, greets Cagalli with the most uncomfortable hug in human history. He and the rest of the representatives inform her that in her absence, they've begun writing up a treaty with the Earth Alliance, defying their stance as an otherwise neutral nation. After seeing the coordinator terrorists who parroted the words of his father, Athrun decides he has to talk to the chairman to see if there's anything he can do to prevent all-out war. But before he leaves, he gives Cagalli a promise ring and a proper kiss goodbye. Shinn decides to visit the memorial made in honor of all of those lost from the Battle of Orb, including his family, where he meets Kira Yamato, who, unbeknownst to him, piloted the Freedom Gundam at that very battle. He and his girlfriend, Lacus Clyne, are there to show their respects. Kira explains that the flowers have just bloomed, but Shinn asserts no matter how beautiful the flowers are, people will always wipe them out. After the confusion of the battle over Junius 7, the Earth Alliance comes to the conclusion that Zaft was responsible for the attack. And after the influence of some shady figures behind the scenes, the Earth Alliance sends them a list of impossible demands in order to justify an inevitable all-out nuclear attack on the colonies. But it's thankfully thwarted. Athrun finally meets with the chairman, begging him to do everything he can to stop things before they get too far. Durandal tells him that if it does come down to all-out war, he wants someone like Athrun to stand with him. Their discussion is interrupted by a sudden broadcast of Lacus Clyne telling the people of Plant to remain calm and trust in the chairman. But the real Lacus is still down in Orb. This is actually Mir Campbell, an aspiring singer who underwent drastic cosmetic surgeries in order to match her appearance. Mir says that Lacus had a unique talent of uniting people in the past, and she understands that the masses don't need her personally, but they do need Lacus. The treaty between Orb and the Earth Alliance is nearly finalized despite Cagalli's efforts, when the Minerva is suddenly contacted by a mysterious voice belonging to Andrew Waldfeld. Supported by his companions Maru Ramius and Kira, he warns them to flee Orb and head for Gibraltar before it's too late. Upon leaving Orb, the Earth Alliance surprise attacks the Minerva. When they attempt to retreat, Captain Tadaka of Orb, the man who took care of Shinn after the death of his family, reluctantly fires a warning shot, informing them that if they enter Orb's waters, they will be shot down. Nothing inspires more rage in Shinn than the sheer mention of Orb. Orb. As he almost single-handedly rips through the entire Earth Alliance fleet, cutting a path for the Minerva's escape. Everyone congratulates him and sings his praises, but I never understood what was so impressive about it. I mean, they're quite literally sitting ducks. Just shoot them. Luna Maria, just aim your massive gun at them. Oh my god. Okay, I take it back. Shinn, thank God you're here. After paying his respects at the graves of his fallen comrades, Athrun decides that he has to do everything in his power to prevent another tragedy. He joins the chairman, who enlists Athrun as a member of Faith, a rank reserved for the most trusted among their forces, enabling Athrun to largely act as he sees fit in any situation. He's entrusted with the Savior, and he sets off on a mission of his own. Cagalli visits Orb's memorial to pay respects to her father, and Yuna, the most disrespectful little prick imaginable, visits as well, using this opportunity to, quote, give her father notice of his marriage proposal, as he asserts to her that their marriage on the same day as the treaty signing will show the nation that its leaders will work together as one to protect them. He tells her that choosing a coordinator over him would send the Earth Alliance the wrong message, and inevitably turn them against Orb. That the right thing to do would be to cut ties with Athrun and even her own brother, Kira. That very night, a group of assassins arrive at Kira and Lacus' home, hell-bent on taking out Lacus. Thanks to the efforts of Kira, Waltfeld, and Maru, they all make it into a secure bunker. Side note, did anyone notice that Waltfeld regrew his arm between seasons? Oh my god! The pacifist Kira has no other choice but to re-enter the Freedom Gundam and fight. He tears them down one by one, disabling their weapons and removing all non-vital areas. But after they're defeated, they all self-destruct, in order to avoid any possible questioning as to who they are or what their intentions may be. Understanding that they can no longer stay here, the crew gets back together. Except Sai, we don't need him. They mobilize in their old ship, the Archangel. But they have one stop to make first. Cagalli is about to throw aside her beliefs for the sake of her people, when Kira crashes the wedding to save his sister from a fate worse than death. The Archangel escapes, receiving salutes from Captain Tadaka and other Orb soldiers who understand that the fate of their nation lies on their shoulders. When Athrun's prevented access to Orb after the signing of the treaty, he decides to join the Minerva for the time being. Lunamaria and Talia fill him in on the absurd situation, and Athrun presents the captain with a faith badge of her own. The Minerva is suddenly attacked by Phantom Pain yet again. Neo Roanoke orders the Extendeds to take up strategic positions, commanding Stella, a childlike girl infatuated with him, to stay back because her machine is not suited for naval combat. But when Shinn chases down Neo, she jumps into action to save him. When Shinn's backed into a corner, Athrun throws his life on the line, taking fire from everyone in order to buy Shinn time to escape. Instead, Shinn wanders off into an Alliance base where he sees them oppressing the locals. He tears down the fences, allowing the people to run to their families. After single-handedly scaring off Phantom Pain without any backup from Shinn, Athrun slaps him so hard that it could be felt from across the planet, telling Shinn that war isn't some game where he can play hero and do as he sees fit, before warning him that if he doesn't act responsibly, he could end up doing to other people what was done to him. In order to break through Gibraltar, the Minerva must take out a deadly protected positron cannon. With the assistance of some locals, they identify a secret tunnel small enough that only Shinn's pre-transformed core Splendor can access it. Though he still resists like a child, he finally listens to Athrun's plan and successfully sneaks behind enemy lines, destroying the cannon and allowing their forces to advance. It seems like there might be hope for Shinn and Athrun after all. The crew finally has some time to relax, and they're greeted by Chairman Durandal and a morale-boosting concert by the Lacus impersonator, Mir, where Athrun has to fight for his life as Lunamaria and her sister, Mayrin, crawl all over him, despite them thinking he's currently engaged to Lacus. My favorite part about Athrun's insane harem in this show is that whenever he's around any of them, his brain literally just shuts off. The chairman meets with Talia, who used to be his significant other, and Ray, who he shares a loving hug with. The rest of the team arrives, and he then explains that he believes the true origin of the war is a group operating behind the scenes known as Logos, war profiteers who benefit from the endless production of weapons, who are also closely related to Phantom Pain and the infamous Blue Cosmos organization, a group largely dedicated to the eradication of coordinators. Shinn goes for a ride to clear his head when he stumbles upon Stella dancing on a cliff. She literally just falls off, who would have guessed, and Shinn, not knowing she's an Earth Alliance pilot, rushes to save her, stranding both of them at the bottom. Shinn angrily asks her if she's trying to die, which turns out to be a control word that has been imprinted on her by Phantom Pain. He consoles her, promising that he'll protect her. Athrun rescues them, and Stella ends up back with Neo Roanoke, where unfortunately, she and the other Extendeds have their minds wiped of the incident. Heine Westenflus, another member of Faith, is assigned to the Minerva, and he does his best to calm the endless tension between Shinn and Athrun. But it's not long before they come under attack from the Earth Alliance and Orb, who have been pushed into combat by the leader of the war-profiteering Logos, Jabril. The Minerva prepares to fire the Tannhäuser to clear out the Orb ships, when the cannon is suddenly shot and disabled by Kira in the Freedom Gundam. Cagalli and the Archangel arrive, desperately pleading with everyone, particularly Orb, to stop fighting, when everyone's favorite Yuna usurps command from Captain Tadaka, claiming that Cagalli has to be an imposter, telling them to shoot down her, the Freedom, and the Archangel. Chaos ensues as the four factions open fire. Kira takes on everyone, disabling as many mobile suits as he can. And Athrun desperately tries to contact him with no success, while Heine takes on Stella while flaunting his beautiful hair. My god, he's perfect. Oh my god, he's dead! Stella rips clean through him as she tries to take on the Freedom. After the battle, Athrun tracks down the Archangel and confronts Kira and Cagalli. He questions why they would do something so reckless, creating utter chaos, confusing an already difficult situation. And Kira asks Athrun what Zaft's true intentions are, why the chairman would create a fake Lacus, and why shortly after, a group of coordinators would attempt to kill the real one. But Athrun doesn't have an answer. Meanwhile, Shinn and Rei are sent to investigate an unidentified research facility. Upon discovering the horrors inside, Rei collapses, triggering a memory between him, the chairman, and an unidentified man. They come to learn that this facility was used for the training and production of the Extendeds and Boosted Men. Through the use of implants, rigorous inhumane training, and performance-enhancing drugs, they were used to give naturals a way to compete with the genetically enhanced coordinators of Zaft. Stella remembers a small glimpse of Shinn's promise to protect her, and arrives to protect the facility that unfortunately became her home. Thankfully, Shinn and Athrun successfully disable her machine and capture her alive. Kira and Lacus discuss their next move, and Lacus decides that she needs to look into Zaft's intentions personally. Sneaking aboard a shuttle designated for Mir, Lacus makes her way up to the plants to reunite with the crew of the Eternal. While attempting to deliver Stella to Zaft specialists, the Minerva is yet again attacked by Orb and the Earth Alliance. A chronic case of deja vu occurs as the Archangel arrives, attempting the exact same thing as before. Shinn ain't having it though, and opens fire on Cagalli. Kira protects her, but realizes Shinn may be more capable than he thought as he dodges Kira's swing. Athrun swoops in to try to talk Kira down as Shinn sets his sights on taking out the other Extendeds. Kira tells Athrun that he won't tolerate him destroying the very thing they're trying to save, as, for plot reasons, the beautiful savior is taken out behind the barn and shot. Without hesitation, Kira shreds it to pieces. Shinn continues his rampage. Captain Tadaka tells his men to abandon ship as Shinn rips him and his ship apart. Sick of Yuna and Orb's nonsense, they ultimately decide to join the Archangel, giving them some much-needed support. Back on the Minerva, Shinn overhears that they're struggling to keep Stella alive without the specific drugs Phantom Pain was using on her. In order to save her, he breaks her out and plans to give her back to Neo. He's almost caught when his friend Rei backs him up, ensuring his escape. Shinn forces Neo to promise that he'll keep her far away from here, in a safe, warm place where she can live the rest of her life in peace. But he must have had his fingers crossed, because Phantom Pain wipes her memory again and is now using Stella to pilot the deadly Destroy Gundam, leveling city after city in an attempt to bring order on Earth. Shinn smugly brags to Athrun about being released from confinement on specific orders from the chairman, even though he was objectively wrong, as Stella is killing thousands of people as we speak. And the Minerva is deployed to put a stop to her. But the Archangel is one step ahead of them, taking on the entire Earth Alliance force by themselves. Shinn, the only active member of the Minerva, is forced to cooperate with Kira, who manages to completely disable Neo. After watching her allies get shot down, Stella goes berserk. Shinn realizes who she is and tries to calm her down, and it almost works, before she sees the Freedom again and is sent back into a frenzy, and Kira does what he has to do. Shinn holds Stella, and she reminds him that he said he would protect her, before she confesses she loves him and dies in his arms. Shinn puts her to rest, and vows to make the Freedom pay for what he's done. Maru finds Neo's crashed Gundam, and in an attempt to recover him from the wreckage, discovers that he shares a face with Mu LaFlaga, her significant other who gave up his life to save her and the Archangel, but he has no memory of ever meeting her. Chairman Durandal makes a public statement, displaying the Destroy Gundam's destructive slaughter to the world. And Athrun notices he strategically edited out the Archangel's efforts to stop it. Durandal finally shares what he figured out so long ago, outing Logos as merchants of death, responsible for these heinous attacks and manipulating the Alliance into full-scale war, aiming to unite everyone against them. But at the same time, he also initiates Operation Angel Down, as the Minerva is sent in to back up Zaft forces, aiming to sink the Archangel once and for all. Talia and Athrun struggle to accept it, while Shinn focuses his sights on Kira. After spending hours upon hours with Rei, running endless simulations, they realize the Freedom's fatal weakness. He doesn't aim for the cockpit, so Shinn has nothing to fear. As Kira tries to protect the Archangel, Shinn arrives and uses this information to his advantage. Shinn overwhelms the Freedom, shipping out replacement parts and backpacks every single time he gets hit. With the destruction of the Savior, Athrun is forced to helplessly watch as the Minerva blasts the Archangel and Shinn impales the Freedom. Kira and Shinn f***ing die, as the massive blast is powerful enough to even push back the Minerva. What I meant to say was, thanks to Kira's quick thinking, he shuts off the Freedom's nuclear reactor, so don't worry, that wasn't a nuclear explosion. We're all okay. Shinn and the Minerva stand victorious, thinking that the Archangel and Kira have finally been dealt with. Cagalli scrambles to retrieve Kira, as the crew desperately tries to prevent the ship from flooding as they narrowly escape certain death. Everyone congratulates Shinn, except for Athrun, who grabs him by the collar and exclaims that Kira wasn't even trying to kill him, and Shinn responds saying, yeah, I know, that's why it was so easy. Rei backs up Shinn, separating the two and telling Athrun that his actions were out of line, later reporting to Chairman Durandal that Athrun cannot be trusted. Mir tries to warn Athrun about what's coming, but she's too late, as armed guards barge into the room to get him. Athrun shatters every bone in their bodies and pleads for Mir to come with him, warning her that once the chairman doesn't need her anymore, she'll be in the exact same situation. But Mir's caught in a state of denial, insisting that she'd rather be Lacus, even if it's only a role. Athrun runs across Mayrin, who decides to help him escape. She sets off an alarm across the base, and they flee in a goof ignited. Shinn and Rei pursue him in the new Destiny and Legend Gundams, respectively. Athrun is ultimately unable to keep up with the two mobile suits, as Shinn, though hesitant at first, puts the traitors in his sights and impales them, leaving their remains to fall into the sea. Shinn and Luna Maria mourn the loss of Athrun and Mayrin, and we learn that apparently all you need to do to start winning a girl over is kill her only other love interest and her sister. Boys, take notes. But it turns out Athrun and Mayrin both managed to survive anyway. Literally 100% fail rate, Shinn. And they're rescued by Kisaka and brought back to the Archangel. Chairman Durandal successfully unites Zaft and the Earth Alliance against their common enemy, Logos. They mount an all-out offensive against Heaven's base in hopes of wiping out their leadership in one fell swoop. Luna's been upgraded to the Impulse, and with the help of Shinn and Rei, they butcher the last of the Extendeds and break through their final line of defense. But they fail to capture their leader, Jibril, who escapes, heading to Yuna and his other supporters in Orb. Cagalli visits Athrun in the infirmary and asks for forgiveness for the wedding. Athrun tells her he should be the one apologizing for being impatient, for rushing ahead and pursuing the wrong avenue for change. The two question what they can finally do to fix things. Meanwhile, Lacus may have finally found the answers she was looking for. A notebook in the old colony where Raoul Le Creuset, a genocidal mastermind from the previous war, and Kira, the ultimate coordinator, were genetically altered and created. But they're suddenly surrounded by a fleet of Zaft battleships. Kira catapults himself into space in the newly outfitted Strike Rouge, and after a desperate struggle, Waltfeld tells him to hurry inside. Lacus meets him there, and they embrace. And Kira tells her it's time to go back to the Archangel, together. Before Lacus then gives him the new Strike Freedom Gundam. Outfitted with incredible specs and new Dragoon technology, Kira disables the entire fleet in a matter of minutes. For their efforts at Heaven's base, Shinn and Rei are added to the ranks of Zaft's elite Faith members. But upon Jibril's arrival in Orb, the Minerva mobilizes, arriving at their borders and demanding that they hand them over. Yuna stupidly denies the fact that Jibril is even there in the first place, resulting in an all-out attack with the objective of dragging him out of their territory, kicking and screaming. Before the Archangel joins the fight, Maru somberly sends Neo on his way to keep him safe. Kisaka and one of Orb's chief engineers, Erica Simmons, take Cagalli to a hangar where she's given the Akatsuki, a gift from her deceased father, with his recorded voice sharing that he hoped the day would never come that she would need this, but that she should take it and proceed along the path she has chosen. You're telling me this thing's been sitting here this whole time? Cagalli rallies her allies behind her as she calls out to Orb Command. Yuna, on the verge of pissing himself, tells everyone that she's not an imposter, hoping that she'll take command of the situation and get Zaft off their doorstep. And she does, but not before issuing the order to arrest him for treason. And everyone happily obliges. With Cagalli now back in control, she's painted a large target on her back, as Shinn Asuka asserts that if anyone is going to take down Orb, it's going to be him. Shinn overpowers Cagalli, who is knocked off balance and is about to be sliced clean through. Kira arrives in the Strike Freedom, saving her life and putting Shinn in his place with some of the most needlessly badass maneuvers the world has ever seen. Holy shit! And with the help of more of Lacus's allies, they show Zaft that this won't be as easy as they thought. Lacus slowly flies a second new mobile suit into the Archangel's hangar, delivering the infinite justice to Athrun, with Kira originally insisting they bring it down because he knew the pain that Athrun would endure if he had to sit idly by again. Cagalli barges into the command center to interrogate Yuna.
Congratulations!
Cagalli, I think you're supposed to ask him a question first. She demands to know where Jibril is hiding, but the moron doesn't even know. Cagalli has the guards take him away, but he breaks free and makes a run for it. And you know what? I think he might just make it. As the Archangel faces off against the Minerva, Neo swoops in, telling Maru that he knows they can win, because he has a knack for making the impossible possible, subconsciously repeating the last thing Mu ever said to her. Kira is attacked by both Shinn and Rei, and he's starting to get overwhelmed when Athrun arrives in the Infinite Justice. If Athrun was willing to slap Shinn around when they were on the same side, what do you think he's gonna do to him now? everyone's favorite pacifist and mass murderer, team up yet again to kick some teeth in, just like old times, sending Shinn and Rei running back to the Minerva. And based on a recent poll, that's not very surprising to you guys. I thought it'd be at least a tiny bit close. I guess not. Jibril finally makes his escape attempt, launching himself into space in a shuttle, and it's up to Luna Maria to shoot him down. He got away. After the battle, Neo tells Maru that he doesn't understand why, but he knows her, bringing Maru hope for the first time in a long time. The chairman uses Mir to assert to the people that Orb was truly at fault for the battle, but the broadcast is interrupted as the real Lacus joins Cagalli, revealing to the world that the chairman is not someone who should be blindly trusted. But Jibril isn't done yet, as he arrives at the control station for Requiem. Capable of bending its beam through dozens of relay stations, he uses it to shatter multiple colonies in one fell swoop. Zaft mounts an all-out offensive, as Commander Izak's team takes out a key relay point. With the bulk of the lunar fleet distracted, the Minerva launches a surprise attack. Luna is specifically assigned to sneak inside and destroy the control mechanism. Shinn is hesitant to let her go alone. She asks, "Don't you trust me to do this?" No. He holds her close, and then he and Rei stand at the front of the line, taking on waves of enemies as Luna Maria successfully disables Requiem. Jibril's ship evacuates the site, but Rei's not Luna. He won't miss. Which seemingly brings an end to the war. Lacus finally explains what she discovered about the chairman's intentions. He wants a world without war, in which every single detail of a person's life is decided by their genetics. A world in which everyone knows it's meaningless to attempt to change your own destiny. The Archangel knows that they have to act, determined to achieve a truly peaceful world that doesn't sacrifice the simple act of living. The Archangel, Kira and Lacus, Athrun, and Cagalli all head into space to confront the chairman. Actually, Cagalli stays behind, giving the mobile suit that her dead father specifically entrusted to her to Neo, and she takes off Athrun's ring, and she forfeits him to Mayrin when the two barely even talk? Cool. While on a stop to gather some much-needed information, Athrun and Lacus receive a message from Mir, claiming that she's going to be killed, just as Athrun warned her would happen when the chairman was done with her. Expecting a trap, Lacus still insists on trying to persuade Mir to come with them. The assassins take a shot at Lacus, but Athrun pulls her out of the way, proving that they should have gone for him first, because now it's open season. I love how in the middle of this, Lacus is beyond calm. It's almost like she's saying, "It's not us I'm worried for." Neo arrives to evacuate them, but an assassin still clinging to life makes one final attempt to take out Lacus. But Mir jumps in front of the bullet. Needless to say, Athrun jumps at the opportunity to finish her off, while Lacus holds her in her arms, lamenting the fact that they never really got to meet the true Mir. Chairman Durandal finally announces the Destiny Plan to the world, touting that the true greatest enemy is humanity's ignorance and selfish ambitions, and that the social engineering of the Destiny Plan, forcing people to live their lives based on how their genetics dictate, be it their careers or much more, would be the only way to prevent further war. Explaining it via a grim and fascistic cartoon, Shinn and Luna Maria question if this is something worth fighting for, but Rei's loyalty doesn't waver for a second. He asserts that to prevent the losses of people like Stella, they have to see this through and protect the chairman at all costs. Because as he explains, Rei doesn't have long left, because he is actually a clone. Orb and the Atlantic Federation reject the plan, and that's something Chairman Durandal won't stand for, using the newly repaired Requiem to kill the Atlantic Federation president and send a message to the world that he wasn't asking for their opinion. The battle to determine the destiny of humanity begins, as Kira and Athrun, equipping their powerful meteors, start by taking out the first relay station. Isaac and Yarka decide to join in and help finish it off for good this time. The Minerva swoops in, taking their shot at finally sinking the Archangel as they fire directly at the bridge. Neo jumps in front of the beam, successfully blocking it, when everything comes rushing back. Mu promises Maru that he's never leaving her again. With the first relay station down, their primary target is Requiem itself, when the new Space Fortress Messiah, armed with a deadly Neo Genesis cannon, deals a massive blow to their united front. Kira rushes in to destroy it, when Shinn and Rei stop him dead in his tracks, protecting the chairman while he waits for Requiem to charge so they can obliterate their next target, the nation of Orb. Rei orders Shinn to go after the Archangel and to finish off the traitor, Athrun, while he faces off against Kira personally. Kira senses something that he hasn't felt in a long time, as Rei questions if he's finally put it together. Plagued by the nihilistic views of Durandal and his companion, Raoul le Creuset, both of which lacking any faith in humanity, manipulating the masses into unknowingly fighting for their own selfish causes, Rei demands that Kira, mankind's future, mankind's dream, must vanish from this world for the sake of the chairman's vision, and that he, as a duplicate of Raoul le Creuset, will be the one to remove him. But Kira tells him that he's wrong, that everyone has one life, and that it's his life to live, not Rao's, before taking his opportunity to disable the legend permanently. Luna Maria engages Athrun, infuriated at him for taking her sister from her, and Shinn bursts in to protect her. Athrun desperately tries to talk him down, but in his rage and denial, he advances. When Luna Maria tries to break them up, Shinn's mind can't process anything, as he's haunted by the ghosts of his failures. Athrun protects Luna Maria, as Shinn literally throws, kicking a beam leg and putting his hands up out of either stupidity or begging for mercy, which will never work against Athrun. He rips him to pieces and shoots Shinn down once and for all, saving Shinn from himself. He's given one last solace through a vision of Stella, who tells him that they'll always have tomorrow, because through his actions, he gave her a yesterday. With nobody left to stop him, Athrun, feeling nostalgic, pays the Minerva one last visit, sending it barreling down to the surface with its wings clipped. Kira and the Eternal break apart the Space Fortress Messiah piece by piece, as Athrun and Mu finally destroy Requiem. Kira enters Messiah to confront Durandal face to face, while Rei and Talia sneak inside. Durandal questions what Kira intends to do when the world is almost certainly thrown into chaos again without the Destiny plan to keep it in line. Kira explains he's ready for that, and that he'll fight for humanity's future. When Athrun arrives to back Kira up, a shot rings out, as Durandal collapses to the floor. Surprisingly, it wasn't Athrun that shot. It was actually Rei, who breaks down crying, professing that he's sorry, but that he believes in Kira's tomorrow. Talia tells Athrun and Kira to go, asking them to pass on a message for her. She has a son, and she would like it if Maru could visit him someday. Athrun and Kira make a run for it, as Rei, Talia, and Gil embrace. Their troubled, broken family, finally, truly, together. Messiah crumbles as it crashes into the surface of the moon, the Freedom and the Justice narrowly escaping. With the death of the chairman and the destruction of Neo Genesis and Requiem, the ceaseless battle finally comes to an end, as Lacus reaches out, encouraging everyone to lay down their weapons and return to their ships. Shinn and Lunamaria hold each other close and cry as Athrun flies down to bring them home. Zaft, Orb, and the Earth Alliance come to the table for peace negotiations, as Athrun, Shinn, Lunamaria, and Mayrin return to Orb to pay their respects one last time. When Kira and Lacus arrive to join them, Athrun introduces Kira as the Freedom's pilot, and Kira reaches out his hand, reminding Shinn of what they said in that very spot so long ago. He happily tells him that no matter how many times the flowers are blown away, we can always replant them. He asks Shinn to join their fight, and holding back tears, he takes Kira's hand. The Archangel's crew returns to Orb, while Kira and the newly appointed chairwoman Klein strive to make a permanent change in the plants. It might not be easy, but it's up to them to take the future that everyone fought for and make it a reality. Before you watch Gundam SEED Freedom, you should probably check out my video on the SEED Freedom prequel, which covers the backstory of Agnes and how it relates to Kira, Shinn, Rei, and Lunamaria. Or check out what happened in Gundam SEED if you haven't seen that yet.